the Arab world politically to do whatever we like. So in the military sphere, the Arab-Israeli conflict is stalemated. You can just spill more blood and conquer some more square kilometers and kill more people and destroy more tanks or missiles or airplanes. But politically, I think you cannot basically achieve anything.
It's true, of course, but it cannot work until the leaders and the peoples accept that war provides no permanent solution to their problems and accept the painful compromises that would be necessary instead of war. Meanwhile, the world unfailingly produces a new crop of 18-year-olds each year, and these young paratroops training for this war and the next have their final exercise, a mock attack over ground which closely matches the terrain of Lebanon. The idea of getting into a war is obviously very attractive to these young recruits. Make the training as realistic as possible, use live ammunition, even make them carry out their own casualties, and still they can't wait. Of course, the idea of being dead at 18 has no appeal, but it's very hard for 18-year-olds to believe in their own death. Quite soon now, though, the Army is very likely to put them into situations where they have to believe in it. And then there's another notion to help carry them through, the idea of sacrifice. Asking our young men to lay down their lives for the good of all of us, of the whole nation, is part of the way we've always done things. And so long as they have faith in their leader's judgment, by and large, the young men are willing to make that sacrifice.
You know, those ancient kings, David, Solomon, they always fought. And it's a repetition of the same story of very stubborn small nation trying to live among these other nations around here. And whenever someone goes to sleep, whenever someone rests for a while and put off his arms, he is exposed to someone who jumps on his neck. And I certainly believe that the generation that is growing now, my son, I have a 5-year-old son, you know, will have to fight. And maybe my grandchild will have to fight. And maybe that's the way it should be.
But there is another idea abroad in the world today, that the whole community should make lesser sacrifices so that nobody has to die.
About 5,000 anti-war demonstrators gathered in Tel Aviv this afternoon. The protest, one of the largest peace rallies in Israel's history, was organized by the Committee Against Invasion. It wants an immediate Israeli withdrawal from Lebanon.
None of these people know exactly what concessions they would have to make for peace, but the sacrifices would certainly be very painful. They would have to give up land that many Israelis believe they have a right to, and they would have to let the Arabs control places from which they could threaten Israeli towns and cities. But Israel faces the same choice as everybody else. Make the sacrifices and take the risks necessary for peace, or go on killing other people's children and burying your own. It's now the 4th week in a war that was supposed to last just 4 days. Pini Avigua is back on his farm in the Golan Heights, in occupied Syria, in other words. He will have 2 days away from his unit to catch up on his work before he has to return to the army. Like most reservists, Pini's army unit is located very close to his home. When he's mobilized, he just gets in his jeep and he's at his war in half an hour. And in a way, his family is mobilized too.
This time I was really worried, because I have a big farm, and you know, to be alone, it's very hard. You can see if something happened in Israel, everyone is running every hour to the radio to hear some news, or if you hear in the middle of the day, more than every hour, everyone is running to the radio.
That afternoon, during a party at his children's school, Pini learns that the army is calling him back early, and his private life disappears again. He'll be in uniform and back with his unit before the sun sets.
Israelis had warned that if fired upon, they would not hesitate to fire back. And today they did just that. According to an Israeli army spokesman, the PLO soldiers in Beirut suburbs had fired first. In the buildings between Israelis and Palestinians, Lebanon's Christian militiamen kept up the pressure, pouring fire into the Palestinian strongholds with little regard for the ceasefire.
Gabi Bashan has just come back from Beirut, and it's the last time he'll have to fight. A week ago, his unit was sitting on the edge of the city, waiting for the diplomats and the generals to decide the fate of Beirut. He was drinking coffee late one night. It was dark and very quiet when a Palestinian guerrilla threw a grenade into his camp. One man died, and Gabi lost the bottom half of both his legs.
Every third or fourth family here in Israel have someone that dead or wounded hard in the wars. You wait from the moment that you are 18. You know that it might happen. You live, and I'm now 35, that's 17 years. I know someday it will happen. I will be very lucky if not.
This young Lebanese boy's luck ran out at about the same time as Gabi's. He's just been brought in from Beirut with his foot blown off. The Israelis, like the PLO, claim that Lebanese civilians are not targets, and no doubt they're not. But they're being killed and maimed anyway, by the thousands.
I don't like to kill people. And I kill Arabs. Maybe I'll tell you a story. A car came against us in the middle of the war, without white flag. And 5 minutes before came another car, and there were 4 Palestinians with RPG there, killed 3 of my friends. So we saw a new Peugeot come against us, and we shoot. And then we saw a family there, 3 children.